why don't we move on to the news, which is what we do all the time here at the Capital Games Podcast. The big story this past week had to do with Ubisoft. And it started out throughout the week, throughout this past week, I should say. Ubisoft announced that they were decommissioning multiplayer and DLC for specific games. Now, this has been a common practice in the past, I would say, 10 years, where a lot of multiplayer games from past consoles were I would say surprisingly still running, and then they announced, "Oh, we're decommissioning this." Like games like I think it was Splinter Cell Blacklist was one which was a 360 game, but their multiplayer is being decommissioned and stuff like that. And I think it was only for PC, if I remember. And then,
correct.
Yeah,
it was just strictly for PC.
Right. And then I think Anno, a version of Anno was also, its DLC was being decommissioned. So you wouldn't, and the problem became with that is not only would you not be able to download the DRM, or not download the DLC, in order to use the DLC, you would have to authenticate through Ubisoft servers. And if they're not processing those servers anymore, you essentially have no access to that DLC at all. So you could have paid, maybe you paid $50 worth of DLC on a game, and then that game gets decommissioned, it's DLC. You basically don't have access to that $50 worth of content. So that was a bit of a controversy that happened, but that kind of died down until Monday, when it was found that 2 games from Ubisoft were not only being decommissioned on Steam, but even if you bought it, you wouldn't have access to it. And that was Assassin's Creed Liberation HD, I think was one, and Silent Hunter 5 was the other. Now, this became a whole controversy throughout the day. I think it was Monday when it happened. And then Ubisoft the next day went around and said, "Oh no, you misunderstand. That's not what that means. You'll still be able to play it." And they kind of danced their way around everything to say, "Oh no, you'll be able to still play it." That's not what that means. Even though it kind of sounded like still like when they at first showed it off that it was you weren't going to be able to play it. Period.
Yeah, I think it was sort of a bad play on them to use the term decommissioned.
Yes.
Because that started freaking everyone out, because everyone was just like, what do you mean my game's going to be decommissioned? I freaking paid for this. And I think what made it even more insulting to people was that, what's it called? Ubisoft was featured during the Steam Summer Sale.
Yes. And
some of these games were literally on sale. So it was a real slap to the face for some people. They were just like, hey, this is bullshit. I literally just bought this game, and you're telling me that this game I literally bought is going to be worth nothing and unplayable?
Mm-hmm.
That is bullshit.
Yeah.
And it pissed off so many people.
Yeah, and this also adds to the DRM issue, which basically a lot of single-player games that Ubisoft has, including, I think, was Liberation, and I know for a fact Immortals Phoenix Rising has this too. There's DRM in that, so they literally have to ping a server in order for you to play the game. So if they decommission that through the servers, even the single-player games that you have are going to be unavailable to you. So, I mean, so here the reason why Ubisoft does this usually is because they advertise other games and other features on their games, essentially. So, like, if you're I remember when you play Immortals Phoenix Rising, they would advertise Assassin's Creed on there, say, hey, Assassin's Creed Origins is available, and you can play that too, and stuff like that. And, of course, for DRM reasons, I don't know, or for piracy reasons as well, they do that. But, I mean, this issue could have been solved simply by basically patching out the DRM as soon as you're done using the servers, and just specifically saying, okay, you don't need a DRM anymore, just play it. You're good. And then if you're worried about the DLC, you're not making money on it anyway. Just patch the DLC in and say, here you go. You're good. You're good. I don't care if you bought it or not. Have it. It's yours. Who cares? And be completely fine with it. But they chose to be, I would say, anti-consumer about this and basically say, well, we have no use for it, so we have no reason for you to use it. Okay, bye. And that's what a lot of people got pissed off about.
Yeah. So overall, this was just poorly handled by Ubisoft, and just they whoever approved this message, they need to fire their PR person and just hire somebody better.
You think this is purely a communications issue? Because I think this was this is what they were going to do, and then the backlash was so severe that they circled back and said, "Oh wait, can we do this differently?" And someone said, "Yeah, no duh, we could do that differently." Oh, let's do that then. And I think that's what happened, really, because I do not think this was communications. This was basically, this is what we're doing because it's the cheapest thing we can do, and that's it. And if you bought it, nuts to you. Who cares? I think that's what it was.
And that's a fair take too. My reason why I think it's a miscommunications issue is Ubisoft usually has its advice and rulings. They come typically from their headquarters out in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's just, hey, the Paris branch pretty much lays down the law. So that's kind of my thought on it being possibly just maybe a communications misunderstanding, but I could be wrong.
No, I can understand where that can come from. I guess I'm just more deeply cynical than that. So
yeah, I mean, I can be too, to be fair. So
yeah, but yeah, I watched this whole unfold, and honestly, after the backlash started, I'm like, oh, they're gonna turn this around in about maybe 6 to 8 hours. Just watch. It took a day, but they did it. But I just like, God, is no one really paying attention to all this and not seeing how screwed up this is? Now let me. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was kind of funny because I believe it was when we were discussing this pre-show, you had mentioned that just some people were just kind of like going, well, what's the big deal? Just buy the Assassin's Creed Remastered collection. You get Liberation for free in that package. So what's the big deal? It's just like the big deal is it's your stuff. You shouldn't have to pay for your stuff again.
Yeah, you bought it, and you should be able to have access to it. And yes, I get it. We're paying for licenses to play. I get that. It doesn't make it any less fucked up that when you purchase something that you have access to it and that they can take it away from you even though you purchased it. Now, I want to, before we move off the topic, I just want to point out, some people were pissed about, like, saying, oh, you should be able to run those multiplayer servers for certain games forever, infinitum. Look, I would like that, but even I admit that it takes some cost to keep those servers running, and if no one's playing those games and it's not getting any use, I can understand why they would say, oh, well, no one's playing Blacklist anymore, so we might as well turn off those servers. I mean, I kind of understand that. But at that point, another point I would take as well is, if that's the case, then open source the code, so if someone wants to put that game online and put their time into it to do it, then do that. But they're not going to do that, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, why open source it when they can be real skeezy about it and find a way to somehow make you pay for it?
Yeah. Okay. So, anything to add?
No, just I'm kind of glad for the players and consumers that this whole debacle was solved, because really just Ubisoft's silence really spooked the shit out of people, because people were just like, okay, so what does that mean? Just am I completely boned?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be cool, and you're going to fucking figure this shit out and it'll be all right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really where things got really interesting. Just the matter of, hey, um, are we going to be fucked on on literally stuff that we own, or are we just going to be completely in the clear because you guys just didn't know how to fucking communicate?
Yeah. I just want to put the notice that they have for Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation is now DLC from this product and online elements and features will become unavailable as of September 1st. The base game will continue to be playable. The funny thing about this is there's no DLC for this game or online elements. So I don't get why, if that truly was the case if that was happening and there's no DLC, there's no online elements, then why even announce that you're going to decommission this? Like this, I mean, I can see why you would think this is a communications issue, but I don't buy it. I think they literally, what they literally were trying to do is, hey, if you want to have to play this, Assassin's 3 Remastered is there. I mean, you can get that. So I think that was the play, and that was it.